Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Solana is exploding to the upside as predicted, while Ethereum is still running into short-term resistance. But on top of that, Bitcoin is now forming a new pattern that we need to pay attention to, because this could be our next trade that we can take. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment. Definitely stick around. First of all, just giving you a really quick update here on the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now the bearish divergence has not yet been invalidated, which means at least for now we're still currently within the short-term pause within the bullish trend on the daily chart. But the moment we confirm a new higher high, either in the daily candle closes in the price or in the RSI, basically that would invalidate this previous bearish divergence right here. And now if we end up seeing a higher high in the RSI above this previous high, that basically gets rid of any chance of a new bearish divergence forming, because obviously in that case we would have higher highs in the price and higher highs in the RSI, which is no bearish divergence. But if we end up seeing a small breakout in the price confirming a new higher high in the daily candle closes while the RSI is still sitting in lower highs, then in that case, once again, if we see a breakout in the price into new higher highs, that would invalidate this previous bearish divergence but potentially form a new bearish divergence, which is something to think about. But remember, these bearish divergences do not necessarily mean that we're going to reverse into a bearish trend. Obviously, these can just result in some choppy sideways price action like what we've seen over the last couple of weeks before potentially continuing on with the bullish trend later. Because ultimately, these bearish divergences just mean that we do just see reduced bullish momentum, at least in the short term. But as for the trend, of course, if you're looking at the DXY, the trend is still bearish in the DXY, which is bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. Because typically when the DXY is trending in the bearish direction, that is almost always bullish for Bitcoin and crypto in terms of the trend. But on the other hand, if the DXY is trending in the bullish direction, that is usually bearish for Bitcoin and crypto in terms of the trend. And so once again, at least as of right now, considering the DXY has not yet confirmed any bullish trend reversal, and right now the DXY is still trending in the bearish direction, considering that is the case right now, of course, I'm still very much bullish on the trend in the price of Bitcoin here on the daily chart. It's just in the shorter term, obviously, we have seen a bit of a sideways consolidation as a result of that bearish divergence, but once again, that can occur within a bullish trend. And if we're taking a look at the 12-hour Bitcoin chart, we can see a new pattern forming right now, which is an ascending triangle pattern. And an ascending triangle pattern with horizontal resistance and an ascending line of support is known as a bullish pattern, because the ascending line of support represents an increasing amount of buying pressure. Meanwhile, the horizontal highs represents a stagnant amount of selling pressure. So basically, the bulls are stronger than the bears. And so due to that, statistically speaking, an ascending triangle pattern breaks out to the upside more than to the downside. And so obviously, it's not impossible to see it break to the downside from this bullish pattern, but that is simply the less likely scenario. But either way, in order to confirm this pattern in play and confirm the technical price target, of course, we need to actually confirm a breakout either above this resistance or below this support in order to set up the next price target. And right now, this level of support is sitting at approximately 42.4k to 42.5k, and this line of resistance is sitting at around 44.2k if you're looking at the 12-hour candle closes. And so if we end up seeing a confirmed breakout above that line of resistance with 12-hour candle closes, for example, above resistance, then that would set up a technical price target at around 49,500. But on the other hand, if we end up seeing a rejection from this resistance and break below that line of support, that would set up a price target to the downside at around 38,000. And also at around 38,000, we have a lot of previous resistance, which should act as new support, which comes in confluence with that price target. But remember, these price targets only come into play once we confirm a break either below support or above resistance. Obviously, below support meaning the bearish price target comes into play, and above resistance meaning that bullish price target comes into play. And so when it comes to my personal trading strategy with these breakout trades right here, basically my strategy remains the same as my previous strategies that I've talked about here on the channel. And so essentially right now, considering we have not yet seen a break of one of these levels, I am not yet in a trade. But once we confirm a break either above resistance or below support, that is when I will enter a trade. So for example, if we break support, obviously I would enter a short position. And if we break out above resistance, I would enter a long position. And as always, when it comes to these breakout patterns, resistance. If we break out above resistance, for example, and then break back to the downside below that line with confirmation, that would invalidate the breakout to the upside. And on the other hand, obviously the invalidation to the downside would be a break to the downside and then a break back above that line of support that would invalidate the break to the downside. And so I take advantage of those points of invalidation to place my stop losses just on the other side of those invalidation levels. So for example, if we're breaking out above resistance and I enter into a long position just above the breakout, then basically as soon as I open that position, I will place my stop loss back below the point of invalidation in case we see a slight breakout like that, and then it's just a fake out and we see an invalidation. Obviously in that scenario, my stop loss would be sitting just below the invalidation level to avoid any further losses. And so in that scenario, I'll be risking around a 2 to 3% move to the downside if I'm entering the trade just above the breakout and if it reverses straight away. But while I'm risking around 2 to 3%, of course, if you're looking at the price target from the breakout to the price target, that's around 11 to 12% to the upside. And so obviously there is much more potential rewards in this trade compared to the potential risk that I'm taking. And so when it comes to this breakout trading strategy right here, even if I lose half of these trades over time and win half of these trades over time, of course, this can still be a profitable trading strategy because with every loss, I could be losing around 2 to 3%, but with every win, I could be gaining more than 10%. And so, of course, even if I'm losing half of my trades, I'm still making more money in the long run. And so obviously, this is why it's always important to consider the risk to reward ratio. Obviously, you always want more potential rewards in the trade compared to the potential risk that you are taking. And of course, when it comes to these breakout trades, as the price continues further into profits, I do move my stop loss at least up to my break even, up to the entry price, and ideally into profits once the trade enters further into profits. Because when you're moving your stop loss into profits, once the trade is already well into profits, you're basically securing profits that way. You're basically eliminating risk in the case of a sharp reversal. And once again, as I said earlier, from the breakout to the price target, that's roughly around an 11 to 12% move to the upside. And so, for example, if we do successfully break out above resistance or below support and hit the technical price targets with a 10x leverage trade, you're basically doubling your money, or with a 20x leverage trade, that's basically tripling your money if this pattern fully completes in either direction. And if you want to know where you can take these trades in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take these trades over on Bybit, and so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And in fact, if you use that link down below this video, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link and deposit $100 worth of crypto and make one trade over on Bitflex, you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take this next trade, then you might as well get set up ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to get those extra bonuses. But anyway, taking a quick look at the shorter term, looking at the 2-hour Bitcoin chart, as I said in my last video, in the immediate short term, just on the 2-hour time frame right now, we're basically in a choppy sideways price range, looking very neutral. And in fact, I said in my last video that it's very likely over the next one day, we're going to see some more choppy sideways price action, which is exactly what we've seen over the last one day as expected. And as for support and resistance for this sideways price range, the support area is sitting in between around 43.1k going up towards around 43.4k, with this area of resistance sitting in between around 44.4k going up towards around 44.7k. And what's very interesting is if you're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we have similar areas of liquidity around those support and resistance zones. First of all, we have this area of liquidity to the downside sitting in between around 43.1k going up towards around 43.3k, and we have this level of liquidity which is sitting at around 44.6k to 44.7k. And so basically in the shorter term, the price of Bitcoin is getting attracted to both of those areas of liquidity, and at the same time, those areas of liquidity are acting as support and resistance, which is why we're looking relatively neutral in the short term, basically chopping around sideways. But as I explained in more detail in my last video, the RSI on the 2-hour chart is declining, which is a sign of weakness, at least in the short term. But at least for now, the price of Bitcoin has not yet exited this choppy sideways price range, which means at least for now, we're looking more neutral than anything else if we're looking looking at the 2-hour chart. But believe it or not, you can make a lot of money very easily in choppy sideways price action just like this, which is likely going to continue a little further. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily time frame, and right now the bearish divergence is technically still active, but at least for now, we're still within the bullish trend. And so once again, as I explained earlier for Bitcoin on the daily time frame, we're basically seeing a bit of a short-term pause, basically a sideways consolidation during a bullish trend, which is just like what we saw back here. And of course, back then, we did have this major area of resistance sitting in between around 2.1k going up towards around 2150, which is now acting as significant support. And as for other support levels here on the 8-hour chart, these Fibonacci levels of support have not changed over the last one day. And so if you're new to the channel and you want to know more about these levels of support, then check out my last video here on the channel. And staying on the 8-hour time frame, of course, right now the falling wedge pattern breakout is technically still active because we have not yet broken below the point of invalidation, below the breakout point. And so technically the price target is still active, with the price target sitting at around 2380 if you're looking at the candle closes, or if you're looking at the actual high, that's sitting at around 2.4k. But like I've been talking about over the last couple of days, obviously the price is running into a bit of short-term resistance, which is this price range right here in between around 2310 going up towards around 2330. And once again, as I explained in my last video, I have already closed that breakout long position right around this exact high, which I did share in my last video and in real time over on my Twitter. And the reason behind closing that long position right around here, rather than keeping that long position open in case we hit the technical price target for the falling wedge, the reason behind that was really two reasons. First of all, running into short-term resistance, and also very high funding rates. Because of course, with funding rates extremely positive, when you're in a long position, if the price is just going sideways, you're actually losing money to the funding rate fees. And so, like I said, all the way back here, with the price likely going to go sideways in the short term or possibly have a slight rejection from resistance, basically I closed out of that position to avoid losing money to high funding rates. But if we're taking a look at the Solana to US dollar charts here on the 3-day time frame, obviously we have now seen that massive breakout that I've been talking about for weeks and weeks here on the channel. Because as I said, all the way back down here, weeks ago here on the channel, the price was running into this important golden pocket area of resistance, sitting in between around $69 going up towards around $77. And that is exactly where the price found some short-term resistance for roughly around a week or so. We did basically trade sideways in a sideways consolidation. But then the moment we saw a breakout above that resistance, above $77, like I was saying on the channel all the way back then, if we break out above $77 with confirmation, then expect a quick move up towards around $120, which is the next Fibonacci level of resistance. And taking a look at what has now happened, obviously, once we saw a breakout above $77, that's pretty much exactly what we saw as expected. Once again, we saw a quick move up towards around $120 so far. And so if you've been watching my videos over the last few weeks, obviously congrats to those of you who have taken advantage of this breakout move that I've been talking about for a while now on the channel. Because obviously this breakout move, just from the golden pocket, not even from all the way down here, but from the golden pocket to where we are right now, that's more than a 40% move to the upside without any leverage. And now if you missed this move altogether, if you're new to the channel and you didn't watch my videos a few weeks ago, do not worry, there's always more opportunities to come. For example, we still have this potential opportunity ahead of us for the Bitcoin pattern right here. And of course, if we break out above this Fibonacci level for Solana, then we could have a fairly clean run up towards the all-time high. But it is important to understand that we should expect some resistance around this Fibonacci level. So once again, at roughly around $120, which is where the price has reached. And if we see a breakout above $120, I would also expect some resistance around this previous high just here, which is sitting closer towards around $140. And so basically in between around $120 to $140 is really the final significant area of resistance for the price of Solana before reaching the all-time high. And remember, at the previous significant area of resistance at the golden pocket, we did actually see some short-term pullbacks and a sideways consolidation at that resistance. And so personally, I would not be surprised if we do end up seeing at least a sideways consolidation very soon for the price of Solana, or possibly a bit of a short-term pullback. But obviously, in terms of the larger trend, I'm still very bullish, even if we do see a short-term pullback. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Solana to US dollar chart, right now, just in the short term, the price of Solana is forming and initially confirmed a bearish divergence, because at least for now, we have already confirmed higher highs in the price in the candle closes, while also confirming lower highs in place here in the 4-hour Solana RSI. And what's very interesting is here on the 4-hour chart, the last bearish divergence that we saw confirm here for the price of Solana was actually at that golden pocket area of resistance. And so at the same time as the price running into an important Fibonacci level on the larger timeframes, once again, we were seeing a bearish divergence on the 4-hour chart, which is extremely similar to what we're seeing right now. Once again, on the larger timeframes, we are running into a significant Fibonacci level at around $120. And at the same time, we're also repeating history, forming a new bearish divergence here on the 4-hour time frame. And if you're simply looking at the outcome of the previous bearish divergence, what we saw last time when the price ran into major resistance and formed a bearish divergence, what we saw over the next few days was simply a bit of a short-term pullback, followed by a slight recovery, and then obviously a major breakout above that resistance later on. And so that's why I said earlier, I would not be surprised if we do end up seeing at least some sort of sideways consolidation or potentially a bit of a short-term pullback sometime soon, as in over the next few days, possibly over the next 1 week or so. But remember, in terms of the larger trend, I'm still very much bullish on the price of Solana, even if we do see a short-term pullback. And now, if you want to know how you can profit from crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or simply chopping around sideways, you can profit in either of those scenarios by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is bullish or bearish using AI, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.